Well, tonight, Ghana Journalists Association is heading to the Supreme Court over what it calls the abuse of the Electronic Communications Act by security agencies against journalists.
Only pick Section 76 of the Act on forced communications, and even the Section 76 itself is clear that it's not meant for journalists. This Act has been used as what? As the hunting.
Now, the association's president argues the trend amounts to backdoor censorship, turning civil defamation into criminal cases and undermining constitutional protections. This is Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, Enjoy Holy Sleep, and also by Short Pension Trust into the future with you. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Tonight, the Ghana Journalists Association says if you don't like a story, sue us. Don't arrest us. The association is therefore heading to court to stop the security agencies from using cyber laws to arrest journalists, thereby harassing them. Now, President Albert Jumfo says the Electronic Communications Act was never written for newsrooms. But he told national security operatives at a media encounter that security agencies now use, quote and unquote, false communication charges to threaten reporters. The association calls it, quote and unquote, backdoor restriction on press freedom, shifting defamation from civil court to police cells. It wants the Supreme Court to rule on whether the law can be abused or can be used against journalists or not.
After the repeal of the Criminal Libel Act by President Kufuor, everybody knows that false news publication vis-a-vis hate speech and all that were treated as defamation. So this Electronic Act found itself in the laws of Ghana, an enactment by Parliament. And even the Act, when we read the detail, the Act itself, and I hope there are lawyers here, the Act were not made for journalists or individuals. But we only pick Section 76 of the Act on false communications. And even the Section 76 itself is clear that it's not meant for journalists. This Act has been used as the hunting, what we call act in going after journalists. When journalists slip, they said false news publication. Even today, even on individual and personal level, if somebody has issue with somebody and attack the person personally, they said false news publication. If I insult my friend and he goes to the police say false news publication, then they will arrest you. The GJA has said, and we have said that we are filing processes in the Supreme Court to review, for Supreme Court to give us review on this act, so that we will all be clear as to if the act was made for journalists, or it is that the security agencies are now using backdoor. They've now found some solace and comfort in this act and using it to go after journalists in this country.
Is the president of GJA, Kenneth. Gyasi has been covering this news conference and joins me in studio with more. Kenneth, what more has the president been talking about?
Right, Brace, before we even talk about what more he's been talking about, this was a media encounter between journalists and also personnel from the national security. We had personnel from the Ghana Police Service, Prison Service, National Fire Service, the National Security themselves, the BNI, which used to be called NIB. They were all there sharing their opinions on how to work hand in hand, how journalists and security personnel can work hand in hand. Often security personnel accuse journalists of crossing the line and interfering in the work of security personnel. But some journalists also believe that it is their right for Ghanaians to know what is happening wherever it is. So this was the premise of the conversation, and we rightly heard the Ghana Journalists Association President Albert Jumfo, who has also been raising alarm over what he calls the weaponization of false communication provisions by security agencies to pursue journalists and individuals, and he warned that the trend is undermining constitutional safeguards against censorship.
We just read chapter 12, article 161, but we forgot that there's also an Electronic Communications Act, 2008, Act 775. Forgot to read that. After the repeal of the Criminal Libel Act by President Kofi, everybody knows that false news publication, vis-a-vis hate speech and all that, were treated as defamation. So this Electronic Act found itself in the laws of Ghana, enactment by Parliament. And even the Act, when we read the detail, the Act itself, and I hope there are lawyers here, the Act were not made for journalists or individuals. But we only pick Section 76 of the Act on false communication. And even the Section 76 itself is clear that it's not meant for journalists. This Act has been used as what? As the hunting, what we call Act in going after journalists.
This is the top story. Let's now bring in Inusa Foseni, who is a former MP and a lawyer, and also Nana J. Bafwewa. He is a Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee member of Parliament. I'm grateful to you, gentlemen, for joining us here. Let me start with you, Mr. Foseni. Help us understand this. You had the GJA president there saying that the act itself was not made for journalists. What was the intent with which this particular act was it enacted?
Thank you so very much for having me. The purpose of the Act is captured in the long title of the Act, to regulate electronic communication. And so the law itself, the purpose of law in society is to constrain behavior, is to regulate the conduct of people or persons in the exercise of their rights. And also in how they go about their lawful activities. And so it beats my imagination if the GJA president says that this particular law was not intended to regulate the conduct of journalists. I mean, I simply do not get it. But maybe he's going to test that is hypothesis in the courts.
His point basically is something that should be civil has been turned into criminal, that they keep people in cells for these things. You're a lawyer, so you can probably help us here.
It's not a civil matter that hasn't turned into a criminal matter. Okay, it's not a civil matter that hasn't turned into a criminal matter. I mean, so when the criminal libel law was abolished, or was repealed, the only option left for libelous publications in the media were now to be taken in the civil courts. Now, the Electronic Communications Act came with false publication. I mean, intentionally publishing a matter that is false, that has no factual basis. I mean, how do we treat that? I mean, and I've had a look at the Electronic Communications Act of many other countries, and they treat intentional false publications as crimes.
Now, I look at the 76.3, or let's start from 2. It says that a person is taken to know that a communication is false or misleading if that person did not take reasonable steps to find out whether the communication was false, misleading, reckless, or fraudulent. Then 3 says, subsection 2, does not apply to the operator or provider of a network or service over which a communication is sent. Can't we be found in that category?
So they are insulating the operator. So you are working for Joy FM, or Joy News, multimedia is the operator, and they are holding you personally liable for publishing information that you knew to be false, that has no verifiable factual basis. So these are two different things. So if you want to put another way, what the law is seeking to do is to say that we will not hold the operator, multimedia, vicariously responsible for the commission of an offense by one of its agents or workers. And in this case, the worker is the journalist. So if a journalist falsely publishes a matter which he knows not to be true, multimedia should not be held vicariously liable. That's what Section 3 is telling you.
Okay. Let me bring in Nana AJ Bafwe. But please stay with me. Nana, I mean, if you listen to the chronology of events that the GJA president gave about how today the journalists are being harassed for, quote, publishing false information, is it time for us to look at the law again and to look at how we can really get it to suit the times we are in?
Okay, so thank you very much. Good evening to Honorable Fuseni.
Thank you, my colleague. Thank you.
Listening to the president of the GJA, I think that is my humble opinion that he seems to be misunderstanding the issues and what is actually happening. What is actually happening is not the law. What is actually happening is the abuse of the persons, abuse of the law by the persons who are supposed to enforce the law, right? And in certain instances, the tacit support they get from the persons who are supposed to, or the institution who is supposed to stand between the law enforcement agencies, right, and the citizen. That is where the problem really, really and truly is. You see, when it comes to law enforcement, it is oftentimes the exercise of the police and law enforcement agencies a certain degree of discretion to determine whether or not an offense has been committed. And whether or not an offense has been committed is dependent on the facts at play, right? When that fact is, put against the law. And so the law enforcement agent, you are likely to have very good law enforcement agents who will look at it and say, genuinely, there's no offense that has been committed. But you can also have within the community people who are bad, people or persons, law enforcement agents who will use the law for their own purpose and not for the benefit or purpose of the society and the general objective of the law. And so you are likely to have such persons. It is for such persons, because of such persons, that the court exists, so that you, in the exceptional case of people abusing the law for their benefit to the detriment of the ordinary person, the court would say, stop it. But in this instance, whereas the law, you have, if you like, bad cops, let me use the phrase bad cops in society acting, the court is not necessarily defending the interest of the ordinary society, ordinary citizen in certain instances. And I'll give you an example. When you look at the law uses the word knowingly. Knowingly. The law says knowing or having reasons to believe that the statement, rumor, or report is false. That is Section 208 of the Criminal and Offences Act, right? And then when you look at Section 76, it also says a person who by means of electronic communication service knowingly sends a communication which is false. So you must know that the communication you are sending is false. It's false, misleading, and likely to prejudice the efficiency of life-saving service or to endanger the safety of any person. So these are the facts. So it is not merely the sending of the communication. It is not merely the publication or reproduction of a statement or rumor which is false. You should know. Now, who determines whether or not the person knows? It is the law enforcement agent. You are likely to have a law enforcement agent, as I said, who is genuinely doing his work and may think that in this particular case, he thinks that a prima facie case has been established. The person did this knowing that it is false. You are also likely to have a law enforcement agent who might want to use the law to settle scores, right? Now, the person that is supposed to make sure that the citizen does not become a victim of score settlement is the court. But in these instances that I have become aware of, in some of the courts, when you go, it's a pass for the law enforcement agents. That is where the problem is. For instance, let's look at Circuit Court 9. That was where Abronye was sent. And we all saw that the basis upon which the judge remanded Abronye was not law, was prose, was literature. It was not law, right? Now, wait, please, let me finish. That judge is then promoted to the High Court. There's no way in the world that a judge would do such a thing and be promoted to the High Court. Subsequently, Baba Amando is sent to the same Circuit Court 9. The question that we all have to ask ourselves is that why are all these cases going to Circuit Court 9? Okay? When it went to Circuit Court 9, this time, before a different judge, why did this different judge treat Amando's case like Abronye's case was treated? So these are the questions we need to ask ourselves. And this is the kind of understanding the GJA president needs to have. And so in thinking that he's going to the Supreme Court, in my humble view, it's an exercise in futility. We must take this matter up with the Chief Justice. We must begin to have a certain understanding of what is happening in our system. Why is Circuit Court 9 the destination for such cases? Why are different judges acting in the same manner? Is there a certain design? We must begin to have a certain understanding. These are questions I'm asking, and they are legitimate questions based on the facts at play. Now, why is it that generally our judges are quick to act in the interest of law enforcement agencies? I agree with them. They must be predisposed to making sure that, there's law, there's order, there is peace, and so on and so forth.
But let me ask this: when it comes to the working of a journalist, mustn't there be
a 1992 Constitution?
Mr. Are you with me?
Yes, sir, I'm with you.
Great. So I want to find out from you, when it comes to the working of journalists, mustn't there be a threshold before a security agency can say that you've spewed falsehood and therefore we have to pick you up and question you?
Boss, the threshold is Article 23. The threshold is Article 23 because the security agency is exercising a discretion. And that discretion, who determines whether or not Article 23 is being complied with? It is the court. Who determines whether or not an arrest is consistent with law and due process of it? In accordance with Article 14 of the 1992 Constitution, it is the court. But when the courts give our security agencies the pass, as though when a security agent arraigns you before court, you are guilty, that is where the problem is. And so in this instance, I'm saying that In specific cases that we have witnessed, what is at play is our courts, very respectfully, specific courts that have handled this matter. I have said that I'm not going to generalize and bastardize the judiciary. I will focus on the courts, specific courts that do such things, and we have to deal with it.
Okay.
For specific courts that have done it, the problem is that they have failed. They have failed not just the citizens, but the Constitution of Ghana.
Okay. All right. Let me bring in Mr. Ifuseni again. Mr. Ifuseni, so when you listen to Nana before, he seemed to have, some proposals to how to deal with this. How do we handle this sort of confusion between when the journalists feel that the security agencies are trying to abuse us and even gag us from doing our work? How do we deal with it?
First of all, I think that Ghana Journalists Association the executive of Ghana Journalists Association should be organizing workshops to educate its members on responsible journalism. It's very important. What are the steps that a journalist has to take to verify an information given to him or information that has come to his attention to ensure that he will be within the ambit of the law? It's very important. If you don't have that standard, that education, that knowledge, journalists might be flying with yellow journalism, just publishing what comes to them for sensationalism.
So is it your advice that GJA must not head to the court, but rather must train its members?
No, that's the first thing. I mean, that's why you have an association.
Okay, I get it.
That's why there is Ghana Journalists Association. That is why there is Ghana Bar Association. That's why there is Ghana Bankers Association. So that our members, the members of the various associations, are brought up to the requirements of the law and conduct that is acceptable in society. It's very important.
But if
you can't leave it as a fight for all. I mean, for individuals.
Okay, we are not putting
that standard must maintain, and then you look at the courts, because if you don't build that, journalists will be operating, or members of professional associations will be behaving as if there is no law, and where there is impunity, members will individually be held responsible.
Okay, all right.
And the executives of the various associations will be failing in their duties to protect those members.
But you support the GJA going to court, right?
I mean, proactive activities taken by the executives or members to safeguard themselves and prevent themselves from falling foul of the law.
But you support the GJA going to the Supreme Court?
Well, I will not beef with them if they want to go to the Supreme Court. But why is the Supreme Court? Are they saying that the provisions of the Electronic Communications Act violates certain foundational principles in the Constitution, and particularly the relevant articles they have mentioned? Is that what they are saying? Is that the argument? Or they are saying that there is a wrong application of the law?
Wrong application.
What are they saying?
Wrong application.
Or
say abuse of the law.
So you are saying that what they are doing is ultra various.
Okay.
So you go for a judicial review.
I have the president himself with us on the line. Let me bring in him. Mr. Albert Jumfor is president of GJA. Mr. Jumfor, I'm grateful to you for joining us. So the question is it about abuse, or you think the law is being wrongly applied?
Okay, thank you so much, my good brother, and good evening to your service listeners. And thanks. I was listening to the last speaker, and I feel that he has even answered the question, because when we talk of judicial review, we all know the courts in Ghana, who has the original and exclusive right for when it comes to judicial review. So if you say judicial review, and we are going for interpretation of such an act that has tended to be weaponized against media freedom in terms of its application, and everybody knows when you read that it's clearly stated in there. We're in this country when President Kufuor repealed the Criminal Libel Act. Then we all know that you can't even have a defamation was more criminal than it is today. And when the Criminal Libel Act was repealed, we all felt that, look, now there's free speech, hate speech, and all other issues of false publication or whatever now can now be treated as defamation. And defamation is now seen to be civil and not criminal. But then just the Electronic Communication Act 2008, Act 775, came in, and all of a sudden, the security services have to now go beyond the window to now start weaponizing this very act against journalists. In fact, today, even when somebody, on individual or private citizens, when they make some comment about even individuals and it does not have any tendency or impact or affect even the state or whatever stated in the Communication Act, Electronic Communication Act, they still be arrested and be charged with false news publication. And so, I mean, what we are saying is that application of the law is not right. And I believe is the reason, whatever, it should tell us how many cases under this charges, the Electronic Communication Act, have survived in court. They take journalists, they take individuals and all that to court with these charges. And where does it go? It doesn't end anywhere. So we are saying that the application of the law is really the law. They are abusing the law. The law was not meant for journalists, and we still stand by it. Let's read the Section 76, and all of us will appreciate that this law must relook at. We are saying that it's either the law, the whole act is repealed, or they review that aspect. That is which the security agencies are using, are weaponizing.
So when are you going to court?
We are ready. Well, we don't talk. As for GJ, before we say something, we are ready. We are prepared, everything. We are ready. I served the notice because today, the National Security called all stakeholders, including public relations officers of the various security services and heads of the media stakeholders to engage. You understand? They want to build what is
so I get it, but I just wanted to find out from you.
All the parties can work together to ensure that we all achieve a common goal. So that is where I serve that notice. And I can tell you that this is something we are going to do. And maybe the coming weeks, details of it will be made available to the public.
All right, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Nana J, you've listened to the president today. What do you make of it?
I think that very respectfully, I really respect them. I respect their views, but I seriously think that they need serious guidance to map up very serious strategies to approach this. To say that the law doesn't cover journalists, I disagree with them. They will have to appreciate that not every journalist would be a saint. You are likely to have people who are likely to abuse the law. That is why the police will, at any given point, have to exercise a certain degree of discretion, right? But it is okay for us to look at the law and consider whether or not it's being abused and for which reason certain exceptions would have to be expressly made. It should be okay. But they would have to appreciate that the law as it stands is also applicable to journalists. Whether or not Supreme Court should be the forum, I doubt if there is any reason why this should go to the Supreme Court. But I won't take it away from them if they have looked at it and they think that there's a certain perspective which they take for which reason it should go to the Supreme Court. That is also entirely within their right.
No, I'm grateful.
But I think that just as Mr. Yusuf Husseini said, this matter, a workshop may be helpful to sensitize journalists so that there is more responsible journalism.
I'm grateful to you. Nana J. for is a member of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. You had Mr. Yusuf Husseini, his former MP and a lawyer, and also Albert Konajimfo, who's the president of GJA. Up next is Newsnight. And
tonight on Newsnight, lawyers for former Gihok boss Kofi Juma say Economic and Organized Crime Office Yoko is holding him illegally as they accuse Yoko of detaining him over 24 hours without charges and denying him bail.
Did not agree to grant him bail yesterday, and as I speak to you, he's still there today. But it is our position that this is somebody who is known everywhere, and we don't think that he will for once think to escape.
Also tonight, the minority in Parliament files an urgent right to information request demanding the Energy Minister release the annual report on the energy sector support account after government missed the March 31 legal deadline to submit it to Parliament. Meanwhile, ECG says sorry, but outages will continue in some areas despite more power from Akosombo.
Which means that there are going to be some level of outages as we continue to correct or to fix the system.
And with barely a week till the BC, candidates are calling for an end to the erratic outages that is threatening their last-minute preparations.
It's a problem in terms of children coming home and them being able to work on their assignments.
And it's affecting their studies because when they are done with everything, still no lights.
Woes of Free Zones Authority CEO Dr. Awisi not over as opposition MPP called for her dismissal over disparaging comment against Church of Pentecost chairman Apostle Nyamitre over Galamsey.
Is for him to consider removing Madame Awisi from her post. That is the only way we can mark this moment and say that never again.
The details as religious leaders unite in push against political gagging over criticism on a distraction caused by illegal mining coming up in business.
IMF commenced final program review with government signaling commitment to fiscal discipline.
In sports,
we hear from former Black Stars defender Daniel Opare, who tells Joy Sports the Black Stars are not a functional team despite the array of talented players in the squad.
The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. You can be a part of the show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
I am Gemma. Appiah.
Details shortly.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter, Angela.
Meba Kojo, I'm sure why. Tea cash naba. No papa ina dawasi.
Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop.
Hello, sir. Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones.
We keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Live on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
When your safety is priority, don't settle for less. Choose the best. Introducing Titanium Security Services, the backbone of professional protection in Ghana. From residential homes to corporate offices, banks, warehouses, and special events, we deliver unmatched security solutions 24/7. Our guards are highly trained, our systems are cutting edge, and our response time is second to none. Find us right behind the Community 11 Police Station in Tema, a strategic location for rapid response and reliable service. Your safety isn't negotiable, so protect it with the strength of titanium. Call us now on 0509 338 555. That's 0509 338 555. Titanium Security Services. Strong, smart, secure, always.
Enjoy homemade taste of Shito always with Didi Shito.
Made with carefully selected ingredients, no preservatives, no colorants.
Preservative just helps us spice. Natural we taste, spicy we eat.
Judicial, if you do need. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome to the program. No charge, no bail, 24 hours and counting. Lawyers for former GIHOC MD Kofi Juma say Economic and Organized Crime Office Yoko is unlawfully detaining him. He's been held since yesterday. His lawyer, Nana Benyin Akon Emmanuel, says Juma went to Yoko voluntarily to discuss issues about his Kumasi home, but officers switched to question about Aboso glass factory instead. The lawyers say keeping him without charge or bail is illegal. Yoko has yet to comment.
There's no charge now. He was actually invited for discussion yesterday, and he walked in there himself for that discussion on the matters pertaining to an Yoko raid in his residence at Kumasi. But it appears that when he got there, they rather brought different matters up, with surprise. And this matter is about matters involving Aboso glass factory. So investigation in the matter, or the interrogation in that matter, was postponed to today. They did not agree to grant him bail yesterday. And as I speak to you, he's still there today and hasn't been granted bail yet. So the issues actually have not been dealt with, or they have not delved into the matter, and we are waiting for what questions they have to ask him. But it is our position that this is somebody who is known everywhere, and we don't think that he will, for once, think to escape or run away from interrogation or investigation. So we are really surprised that he has still not been granted bail as at this time.
Benyin further indicated that the lawyers would take appropriate action if their client is held in Yoko custody for more than 48 hours.
But yesterday, there was discussions for bail because the panel who met him late in the evening, and thinking that they had not completed with the exercise, they were going to continue today. So we thought that it was wise that he was granted bail. But according to what the panel said, there was no instructions from above to grant him bail. So he was detained from yesterday night. So now.
It's been more than 24 hours, heading to 48 hours. Should it be that tomorrow he's not granted bail or not released from Yoko's custody? What is the next line of action?
Okay, so now all that we can say is that one step at a time. We are looking at this moment how to secure bail for him, and we are still within the constitutional 48-hour period. So let's see what happens within the 48 hours.
And this is a fast developing story, and we'll try to reach Yoko and other interest parties in this developing story.
Well, tonight, the minority in Parliament is now using an RTI request to force the Energy Minister to disclose what's in the energy sector support account, which is money from levies you pay on fuel and power. They say government is hiding how the cash was used. The account set up to hold proceeds from energy sector levies is by law supposed to be reported to Parliament annually by March 31. But the minority says that deadline has passed with no report submitted. They have now triggered an urgent right to information request to compel disclosure. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins me in studio with details. Kweku, what exactly is the minority demanding?
So, according to this letter written to the Energy Ministry by Habib Idrisu, the Deputy Minority Whip, he says that he writes pursuant to, of course, the RTI Act to request information on the energy sector levies. In fact, he quotes parts of the law in his letter. Quote, the minister shall cause to be opened and maintained an account to be known as the energy sector support account, into which shall be paid the monies collected under the energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy. Moreover, Section 4 also provides that the minister shall submit to Parliament an annual report on the management of the account established under Section 3 for the preceding year by the first day of March of the ensuing year. He says, my checks with Parliament indicate that a report on the management of the account has not been submitted. I therefore specifically request information on 1, the total amount or revenue realized from the collections on account of the energy sector levies, and a full list of the specific expenditures to which the revenues mentioned in point 1 above have been applied or utilized. And it's demanding this within 14 days, just like the RTI law mandates.
Thank you very much, Kukwasanti. We've also been hearing from the General Manager for External Communications at the Electricity Company of Ghana, Charles Ni Ayuku, who says even after Akosombo is fully functional, there will be outages in some parts of the country.
As you are aware, we have the fourth unit being restored. And I think that during the minister's press conference, it was very clear that the current issue is quite fluid, which means that there are going to be some level of outages as we continue to correct or to fix the system. Apart from the incident, you also recall that there are pockets of challenges within our networks, especially by distribution transformers as well as our power transformers, which are being changed and some be replaced. So yes, some of the areas would have to go off because of some of these challenges. I'm also quick to add that with the fluid nature of the situation, it also means that some areas would not even experience outage, even though it has been announced. And even this morning, I've received reports that around the Dansoman area, where they went off at 7 p.m. yesterday, they got back at 10 p.m. and since then they've never gone off, even though in the schedule they are supposed to be off. Which means that the schedule could be there, but because the fluid nature of how the system is going in terms of getting reliable power, getting the issue fixed, some could experience no outage.
That's the General Manager for External Communications at the Electricity Company of Ghana, Charles Ni Ayuku.
Well, the ECG is justifying continued outages in many of the parts of the country despite improved power generation at Akosombo. Some areas are expected to be in darkness tonight and tomorrow in the Greater Accra, Eastern and Ashanti regions. Michael Ashale joins me in studio with the areas for tomorrow. Which areas will be experiencing blackouts?
So in the Greater Accra, we know that we have some operational regions. In the Accra East region, for instance, power will be curtailed between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. in areas including Airport Residential, Atomic Commission, Hachu, Dome, Achimota, Kotubabi, Jowulu, Abelenkpe, Ashalebotwe, and Lakeside. Still in the Accra East region, outages are also expected between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. in areas such as Laboni, La Dodowa, Yikuma, Nima, Chado, Ajengano, Teman, Damfa, and Oyarifa. Also, between the hours of 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. in areas including East Legon, Bawaleshin, Madina, Kwabenyan, Legon, Bema Camp, Atomic Junction, North Legon, Accra Airport, they will also be going off between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. tomorrow. And then finally, between 6 p.m. and 12 a.m., areas such as Adenta, Yimensa, Ebri, Peduase, Ashoman, Hacho, Westland, Osu, Cantonment, Laboni will all be affected. If you didn't hear your neighborhood, but you're very close to some of these places, well, you may also just be anxious and be on tenterhooks, but you may be affected in this exercise.
Michael Ashale with the list of areas to experience blackout tomorrow. Meanwhile, with barely a week to the BCE, candidates are calling for an end to the erratic outages that is threatening their last-minute preparations. Hannah Odami spoke with some of the students and filed this report.
The West African Senior High School Certificate Examination started last week with the practical, made up of the sciences, technical, arts and design, creative arts, and design studio. The students in Form 3 Junior High School will begin their exams on Monday, the 4th of May. The preparations and learning patterns of these students have adversely been affected by the power outages. Listen to some of them express frustration.
When they do light off. We cannot even see the letters in the book. It makes learning difficult. And because of the light off, sometimes we spend much time in the school because when we reach home, we can't learn, so we spend much time in the school so we can get fresh air.
Some parents who also spoke to Joy News were worried their children are unable to complete assignments or revise effectively after sunset. Thus, they fear will affect the results of their children.
I think this has been an issue for 2 weeks. So it's a problem in terms of children coming home and then being able to work on the assignments. So I'll just ask the government to quickly fix the issue for us.
The DOMSO is really affecting my niece and my nephews to be writing BECE because whenever they come from school, like they want to learn, and it's affecting their studies because normally they have to learn around 6, then they will finish maybe like 7 or 8, then they will continue to sleep, then they will wake up at dawn, but they will come back from school around 5, no light. They have to do house chores, and so when they are finished, like when they are done with everything, still no light. So we are all pleading. We are all pleading with the government to do something about it.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Equiapim North, Samia Wuku, has joined the growing calls for a timetable or total stabilization of the power, adding candidates in his constituency have inundated him with calls asking alternatives to the outages to enable them effectively study for the exams.
Speaking to these young future leaders, some are frustrated. They kept complaining that, Honorable, we don't have light to study. The light comes on when we are asleep at dawn, and then by the time they wake up, the lights are off. The lights will come back around 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. it goes off. It's frustrating for them, and I'm scared for them. These kids may only have one shot at their BECE, and I don't think that the government is being sincere in handling these matters. So I called on the president to urgently intervene for these kids. WAEC doesn't care whether you have light or you don't have light. WAEC couldn't care whether you're able to study or not. The papers have been prepared, the questions have been set, and the examiners are ready. So please, we want the government, the president, and that of the energy minister and green transition to make do their promise of keeping the lights on.
For Joy News, I am Hannah Odami.
Let's go to the phone line and speak to the National Council of Parents Teacher Association, the General Secretary of that association, Gapson Kofi Raphael. The association is concerned about this situation. Let's start with the BEC candidates. These are candidates who are in your care as parents. How are you supporting them in these times?
Very much, and then good evening to you and good evening to our cherished listeners. I think that the concerns raised by the parents, the students, and all other stakeholders are genuine, that we cannot overlook it. But as we all know, to be forewarned is to be forearmed, and inadequate preparations would always lead to poor performance. We as parents, we know the effect of power outages in terms of the impact it has as far as not only teaching and learning, but also studies for students who are preparing for examinations. But we are not in normal times. And for that matter, we all believe that we need to be more adapting and resourceful in our engagement and encouraging the students to know that these things have happened in the past, they are happening today, and we will need to look at what others did and be able to survive for us to also coach them and guide them and encourage them to go in that same direction. There is this saying that you learn how to cut down trees by cutting them down. What do I mean? Hence, we need to let the students understand and appreciate the fact that to pass exams under these practicing conditions, you need to go through real-time situations and study the situation you find yourself in and adapt such a way that you can be able to survive and overcome. The lights goes off as and when it comes on. It depends on wherever you are located. And for that matter, we all know that around these times, we should encourage more of group studies. We should encourage more of mental recall. We should encourage more of discussions of past questions. for these students. We should also encourage camping of the students, because around this time, a lot of things can be a distraction. But when you bring them together, as other schools, PTAs, and their management of the schools have started doing, in fact, in some jurisdictions and within the space of Ghana, I can tell you that over the last 2 months, they foresaw these things could happen, and they decided to take contingency measures. And as I speak to you, there are places that already, for the past 2-3 weeks, students have been camped in schools. Parents have tried to support to make sure that the children are well conditioned to pass the exams.
That's
and
for
in doing that,
that's for BC candidates. What about WASI candidates, many of whom are in school under the care of school management? Is there any special arrangement with the management of these schools, SHS, to provide them electricity 24 hours?
And I'm saying that we know that the power situation cannot be stable for 24 hours in most cases, for whatever reasons we all know. But we are saying that as they find themselves in that situation, sometimes sharing is caring. If you have to have a solar lamp or lantern or rechargeable distance, you alone together with about 5-6 people, you can come together and share it.
The question I asked was whether, as PTAs, you have had an arrangement with the schools.
That is what I'm saying. That when I started, I made that point clear that in certain spaces, parents together with school management took decisions, contingency measures to resolve some of these things ahead of time, because they foresaw it. Because to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And I'm giving you classified situations where in other places, as I speak to you, my child is writing the BC this year. And I can tell you back about 2 months ago, we took firm decisions to prepare the students. And as I speak to you, she's part of a group who are already been camped in the school, and they are going through a lot of preparations to adequately prepare them for the exams. And as we're going, those who could provide lamp, they provided, so that in case there are lights out, at least it will help them to burn the midnight candle. And also, let me add this and say that on discipline, when conditions aren't perfect, this is the time that the students must discipline themselves. They should not say that this is the time we can only study, maybe we can only study in the night. They should make hay while the sun is shining. During the day, during dawn, during morning, as and when they have the opportunity to learn, they should take full advantage of it. And in the night, when they cannot read their books or they cannot go through their tablets to do research and other things, that's the time they can engage in recall. That's the time that they can do group studies. That's the kind that they can ask, try to see how best ways they can resolve past questions.
We are grateful for your time. Gapson Kofi Raphael is the General Secretary of the National Council of Parents Teacher Association.
And Nane Kuyamwa, watching from our Blakuma Central, says, I support the GJA's decision to go to court over the way and manner in which law enforcement agencies are abusing the Electronic Communications Act. The men in power are abusing this law, using it to settle scores and gag freedom of speech. Charles from Legon says the MPP knew all the good things, yet it destroyed everything that made sense. Today, the MPP is pontificating to a government that is fixing the country. This one, without name, says, I'm wondering why the MPP is suddenly crying out today simply because Yoko has detained Maxwell Kofi Juma. The hypocrisy must be exposed. Meanwhile, the NDC lost the 2016 elections. I can count more than 16 appointees whose houses and offices were similarly ransacked by the same organization, and the MPP were then praising Yoko for carrying out what they called legitimate duties. So really, what has changed? Let's go into the telephone lines and speak to Nana Benyin Emmanuel. He's the lawyer for Kofi Juma, who is the former boss of Gihok Distilleries, who is in the grips of Yoko. Welcome to the program. You have tagged the arrest and subsequent detention as illegal. What is it? Unfortunately, we do not have him yet. When we do, we'll go back to him.
But Ken, let's speak to Habib Idrisu. He is the first Deputy Minority Whip and MP for Tolong, because the minority in Parliament is now using an RTI request to force the Energy Minister to disclose what's in the energy sector support account. Welcome to Newsnight. Hello, Mr. Idrisu. Welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you.
I'm wondering why the minority is deciding to use an RTI request, because we know Parliament has an oversight over these ministries, energy ministry included. Why an RTI request?
Good evening to your listeners. RTI request because the ministry have not been able to comply with the law, because Section 3 is clear that by the 31st of March, they should be able to report to Ghanaians the 1 cedi per litre that they charge Ghanaians, with the back of the excuse that it was to keep our light on. We are experiencing doom, so Parliament is on recess. We cannot wait any further. We have not chanced any of the reports. So my RTI request is into demanding two things. First, how much has been realized from the energy sector levy amended 2025, and also what they have been able to utilize it for. Because they came under certificate of agency in Parliament, the agency nature of the fact that we should pay 1 litre per gallon because they want to keep our lights on. Many Ghanaians were happy because to pay 1 cedi per litre to keep your light on was a good call. So we started paying that, but yet our light is not on. How much have they been able to realize so far? What did they use the money for that we are still experiencing this? Because we are aware that the IPPs, they are owing them in excess of $500 million. So what are they using the money for? And then the excuses that they are giving us. And you could see that even students are complaining at the moment as to how they can be able to study for their BEC. Cold store businesses are collapsing at the moment. People are losing their jobs as a result of the doomsday that we are experiencing. But we were charged and we were told that we should pay the 1 cedi per litre so that this will be used to solve that problem.
I'm wondering how the disclosure of what's in the energy sector support account relates to the power crisis we are having now. We heard from the energy minister some few days ago saying that what we're experiencing is because of faulty transformers and also the fire at the Akosombo substation. How does the energy support account come in here?
We've been experiencing doomsday before the Akosombo fire gassed. We've been experiencing doomsday very long time before the Akosombo fire outbreak. And it is not the case that we are having doomsday now because of what happened in Akosombo. And more to the point, you don't change transformers 24/7. At the moment, as we have, there are other parts of the country that is in darkness. Are they changing transformers for them now?
So you
No,
doubt the reasons?
Not the reason.
So
the
you
reason
doubt the reasons the minister gave? You doubt the reasons the minister gave?
1 cedi per litre for you to keep my light on. I have been paying and my light is not on. How much have you realized? Have you diverted the money? Have you used it for intended purpose? If they respond, we'll be able to know exactly what they use the money for.
Thank you very much. Habib Idrisu is the first Deputy Minority Whip and MP for Tolong.
Let's talk about health tonight, because 75 cents per year per person, and this is how much US would have paid for the health records of over 33 million people in Ghana if cabinet had not rejected a $109 million health aid package from the US. The aid under the United States government's America First global health strategy would have compelled Ghana to surrender citizens' health records to the US for the next 25 years and barred Ghana from questioning how that data is used, including potential exploitation by U.S. pharmaceutical firms for commercial purposes. Senior editor here at Joy News, Evans Mensah, gives details on what the America First Global Health Strategy is all about.
Well, it is an initiative introduced by the Trump administration sometime last year. It is designed to encourage lower-income countries, poor countries, let's put it more bluntly, to take greater responsibility for tackling diseases like HIV/AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, and polio. And as the name suggests, it is America first. And Trump is, as he himself touts, is a deal maker. He does not do anything for free. So the question was fundamentally, what is America going to get out of this? And that is why the crafting of the America First Global Health Strategy had a heavy commercial interest in it, which ultimately had led to our decision not to sign the MOU. few things that we are learning from our sources who were very close to the negotiations. The first was the fact that the deal, although the aid itself was supposed to last for 5 years, the contract terms was requiring Ghana to surrender our health data, the citizens' health data, to the United States for 25 years. Now, in addition to that, once we surrender that data, the US can decide what to do with that data, including sharing with their pharmaceutical companies in the commercial development of new medicines, and also in commercial reaching out to customers, etc. That was a primary concern for our government, and also because of the rush that we're learning was put to this particular initiative and the pressure that was brought to bear. The first contact with our officials, we were told, was in November, and they were giving 1 week to sign this MOU. That obviously didn't bode well for our ministry. The second thing was the fact that the governing law was going to be the US law, and our officials, from what we understand, raised questions with that. And then there's a third aspect to it that was also troubling for our officials, which was crippling the authority of our Food and Drugs Authority to subject drugs and medicines coming from the US into Ghana to the regulatory assessment and evaluation, which the FDA does. The wording of that clause in the MOU suggested that once the FDA, the Food and Drugs Administration in the US, has approved the drugs, they can flood our markets with it, and our FDA would not have any say in that. I mean, these key issues obviously didn't bode well for us. And from what I understand, it escalated to Cabinet, and Cabinet then asked the Attorney General to look into the terms in the MOU. Eventually, Cabinet then decided that we reject the 109 million, which the US was prepared to give us over a 5-year period.
Now, a CDD fellow, Dr. Kwame Sedu, says a number of pharmaceutical companies in the US are looking for biodata from African countries to develop medications for specific groups of people, including blacks.
In a year. Now, this is going to give us 109 million US dollars over 5 years, which comes to about 26 million.
Right.
US dollars a year. What that means is that for all that Evans described, and I wouldn't want to belabor the point because he's actually been detailed about what's in the MOU. They are saying that for 33 million Ghanaians, we should surrender all that to the United States without any recourse for 75 cents per person per year. That is how lowly the United States government is valuing the Ghanaian life.
Right.
And more importantly, they are saying that when you've given them your biological data for 25 years, and you have to look at that in context from a pharmaceutical research and development standpoint, there is not a lot of data on medicines research in blacks globally. That is known. So when you give them that data, that is virgin territory from which they can design target drugs in the new scope where the, global health is moving, which is individualization of care. So targeting drugs to specific races and other things because our enzyme makeup and genetic makeups are different. But when they've done that, you do not have first claim to the medicines, number one. Number two, you have no control over even how the medicines would be costed. So you'll be buying it as though anyone else bought it. And more importantly, which sovereign country, worth its salt, would go into an agreement with another sovereign country which says bilateral, you are supposed to give access to your health records. Are the Americans going to give access to their health records? Because when we say bilateral, then there should be reciprocity.
Let's go into the telephone lines right now and speak to Alexander Appiah. He's a former Deputy Health Minister. Welcome to the program, Mr. Appiah. Would Deputy Health Minister Alexander Appiah have rejected this deal as well?
Well, good evening to you and to your listeners as well. I think that if you look at the issues in Israel perspective, you do not want to trade your data for such amount of money. that would have been in contravention with our Data Protection Law, Act 843. And I am sure once we have a government that starts talking about health sovereignty, we must begin looking into our system and see how best we can fund these programs without necessarily compromising our data, especially biodata.
We know that we have such a huge funding gap when it comes to our health sector. Rejecting this money means that gap still persists. How do we fill the funding gap in our health sector after rejecting this, some will say, an opportunity?
But for how long can we continue putting our health budget on others? It's about time we prioritize health and make available resources to be able to fund some of these programs. I mean, by and large, some of these programs are on a kind of funding mechanism that is by 2030. And so there have actually been means of, winning these programs off foreign funding. And so I think that this comes as an opportunity to be able to prioritize our health and take the bull by its horn.
There are also concerns that with the rejection may come severe consequences from the United States. Should we be scared?
Well, we don't know of the consequences now. Initially, the Trump administration cut off the U.S. aid, and we got ourselves prepared. Some said it was a suspension, some said it was a total cut-off. Now they have introduced this new methodology. I think we just need to put our priorities right and make sure we consider health as wealth.
Alexander Aqua, thank you very much. He's a former Deputy Health Minister. Pius says, please tell Samia Uku to try and provide solar lights to his constituents since he can spend so much on his birthday. Charles in Legon says, Samia Uku, children in your constituency are fortunate to have electricity sometimes. There are school children in other communities who have no electricity at all, yet your government failed to address their difficulties. And Isa Tanimu from Boko says the wasteful MPP under whose tenure ECG bought about 17,000 gigawatts hour of power in 2024 saw only about 11,000 gigawatts power sold and paid for, resulting in a loss of over 5,000 gigawatts power after handing over ECG to PDS for 7 months, only for Peter Amewu, then Energy Minister, to later raise concerns that PDS had used fake documents and fraudulently taken over ECG. They lack the moral right to demand accountability from ECG, which is now performing far better under President John Mahama. That brings us to business, and George Riafe, who just returned from Washington, D.C., is back in the studio. Welcome, George.
Coming up in business, IMF commences a final program review as government signals commitment to fiscal discipline post-completion of this extended credit facility initiative. And Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies downplay impact on LPG supplies despite issues with tendering of the product. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. Centers Tanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal.
Charlie, trim I'm nice. I get some serious meeting. Allah, motion. But Charlie, no credit today. Oh, but you relax. Momo day.
Hey, what funny.
Yes, so I borrow small, sort myself out, I pay back. We move. Spoil there. Ah, Charlie, you sure say you dey pay back? Yes, so that anytime somebody else they need them, Momo day. Be like I for can't borrow some more. You this boy. Don't go there and disgrace yourself. Allah, motion.
Responsible borrowing be the real flexo for today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. Borrow, sort them, pay back. Momo Day.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Tema near Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Center Point Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, CEOs. Ghana's foremost business platform marks 10 years of leadership impact. Join the 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo on Thursday, 28th May 2026 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Kempinski Hotel Accra. The summit is themed accelerating Ghana's economic transformation, driving bold reforms through leadership, technology, and industrialization. Tagline: from vision to action. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, will attend as special guest of honor and officially launch the CEO Government Compact 2026. Highlights include presidential CEO dialogue, masterclasses, panels, brand expo, CEO profiles, networking, and the Ghana CEO Excellence Gala. Register now at GhanaCEOSummit.com. Call 054-639-1970 or email info@GhanaCEOSummit.com. Powered by CEO Network Ghana in partnership with Deloitte, PwC, EY, GIPC, SIGA, University of Ghana, Media General, and the Multimedia Group. The 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo. A decade of leadership impact. T&C supply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number one. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then. And with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
This advert is FDA approved.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, tough, hey, strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
You're welcome back to Business on News Night. Now, IMF has commenced the final program assessment of the country's extended credit facility with the fund, which has been described as the 6th review. We have details in the following report.
IMF mission led by its chief, Dr. Ruben Atoyan, together with his team, engaged the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Tuforsin, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, together with other officials of the Central Bank. This actually represents the first leg of formal meetings between Ghana and the IMF. The Finance Minister, in his opening remarks at the meeting, noted that government remains focused on sustaining recent economic gain and consolidating the recovery. Dr. Forson emphasized that the next phase of the program will focus on prioritized policies that unlock private sector growth at scale and economic stability. Some of the areas that the team will focus on is assessing Ghana's overall performance since the 5th review program earlier this year and determine whether delayed targets and structural reforms have been met or are nearing completion. In the fiscal front, attention is expected to be on developments in the energy sector, particularly on structural reforms and debt management.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies have downplayed the impact on LPG supply despite issues with tendering. The product is set to go up by more than 10% per kilogram from tomorrow. That is Friday, actually, the highest in recent times. Chief Executive of the Chamber, Dr. Robertson Upon, said they are hopeful that issues about the tendering should be resolved soon.
What was bidded in Ghana to be sold was an old stock, all right, that the price had been set already. So we could not change the price, okay? Now, when it comes to what we have just received in terms of LPG, we have now seen the effect, which for me, if you look at the number of drops we've made and now this increase is a bit marginal as to how the global benchmark prices narrative was. We are doing the bidding, so the supply is based on bid rounds. So supply security is not an issue as far as LPG is concerned.
Dr. Reverson Upon is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. Atalu has revealed that it has reached an agreement with government over the payment of more than $200 million in debts. These funds are covered gas-supplied cash investment by government as partners on the Jubilee and other payment activities related to the Tunibwa Inyara and Tome fields. The oil exploration firm revealed this in its 2025 financials released earlier this week. The delays in paying these debts impacted badly on the operations of Tullow for last year. Meanwhile, Tullow has also announced some significant improvement in its finances for the first quarter of this year due to some drastic measures taken by management after posting some losses for last year. Richard Miller is Group Financial Officer and has been speaking to investors in London.
We expect to deliver $260 million to $365 million of pre-financing cash flow in that oil price range, which translates to free cash flow of $70 to $175 million, following the inclusion of approximately $130 million of financing costs and approximately $60 million of fees associated with the refinancing transaction. With the refinancing transaction completion, we have significantly reduced our cash interest run rate to approximately $125 million per year. Our cash flow guidance in 26 includes recovery of 2025 cash call receivables from the Government of Ghana and approximately $40 million of pre-tax gas revenues from 2026 gas production. But it does exclude roughly $110 million in historic gas receivables and approximately $50 million related to TEN development debt. We are working collaboratively with the Government of Ghana to reduce the receivables balance, with significant progress already made.
Richard Miller is Group Financial Officer of Tullow Oil. Now, Chief Enterprise Business Officer at MTN Ghana, Angela Mensah-Poku, says the company is deepening its support strategy to expanding its business mini MBA program to train 90 SMEs this year, up from 50 in the maiden edition. Speaking at the MTN mini MBA launch, she explains the initiative is designed to address a lot of challenges faced by small businesses in the country.
We know that in terms of the hustle, our SMEs have the hustle, but do they have the bookkeeping skills? Do they know how to use digital tools? Do they know how to take the theory and take it to their businesses? So that's the reason why we've invested in 90 businesses taken from female entrepreneurs, the youth entrepreneurs, and also general SMEs to take part in 2026.
And Angela Mensah Poku is the Chief Enterprise Business Officer at MTN Ghana. And before we go, tomorrow is the big day for Joy Business as we bring you an assessment of President John Mahama in terms of the economic analysis of the issues that we should be expecting as to do the economic narratives match the real sector of the outcomes. We'll be hearing arguments from the chief executive of the Chamber of Commerce, as well as an economist and a host of business persons. It's at 9 a.m. That is tomorrow on all our channels here on Multimedia, as you get some analysis on do the economic narratives match the real sector outcomes tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Joy News and Joy FM and all our social media channels. So make a date as you do some breakdown analysis of Mahama's reign, especially when it comes to the economy.
Right. Very, very necessary. Thank you, George. Well, let's take you back to our headline story, which says that Gihok boss, the former boss of Gihok, Kofi Juma, has been in Yoko custody for the past 24 hours. His lawyer is making the argument that he should be out because he hasn't been charged with any offense. And Nana Benyin Emmanuel is joining us on the telephone lines right now. Nana Benyin, the law clearly states that if someone is held beyond 48 hours and is not charged, that is when they should be processed for court, and that is when it becomes illegal. So your client has been in for a little around 24 hours. So why are you calling it illegal?
Good evening to you. And let me first indicate that I've not made that indication, first of all, in as much as we are not happy with his continuous detention. We have not indicated that that is illegal. We know it is within their 48 mandate constitutional window, but we are rather of the opinion that the personality involved and the circumstances of his investigation didn't warrant his continuous detention for over 24 hours now.
Right.
That's our point.
Has he been charged yet?
Not at all. Investigation has just begun. And so we are thinking that in the interest of the good spirit of investigation.
And how is he faring, though?
Oh, he's very fine. He is very fine. He is very fine. But you know that anybody under circumstances like this will not be happy. But I can tell you that he's very fine. He understands the game. He knows what is going on. So he's cooperating with them. We are just hopeful that before the interrogation ends tonight, will be accorded what we are asking for and granted bail.
If he's not granted bail in 48 hours, what happens? What are the available options, briefly?
First of all, I'm not sure that they will be keeping him. They will want to keep him beyond 48 hours because I know that they understand the rules. But one step at a time. At this point in time, we are still in talks with them to secure his bail. So we are hoping that by the time we are done this evening, interrogation today didn't start early. It started not too long ago.
Okay.
So we are hoping that after the whole exercise, should be granted bail.
Emmanuel Nana Benyu, thank you very much. He's the lawyer for former Gihok Distillery boss Kofi Juma. It's now time for sports. Benaya is here with the latest. What do you have for us?
So this is a Joy Sports exclusive. Former Black Stars defender Daniel Appiah has been speaking to Joy Sports ahead of the World Cup. Now he believes that despite the abundance of talent in the squad, the Black Stars are not a functionable team. Now he points to a lack of cohesion and structure, insisting that individual quality alone is not enough at the highest level. Now Ghana has been drawn in Group L alongside England, Croatia and Panama, a tough group that will demand organization and consistency. Now, Appiah is urging the technical team to fix the team dynamics quickly if Ghana wants to compete at the highest level.
We don't have a team.
I think we need to build a team. You know.
Why don't we have a team? We have talent.
Yeah, because like I said, sometimes you have talents, but you don't have a team.
Yes.
You understand?
And I'm asking, why don't we have a team?
From
where you stand.
You know, I wouldn't want to go deep, but the only thing I can say is that these players, they need to maintain them for a long time, you know, and then don't try to change. They can change it. Maybe if there is an injury, you know, then they can look into it and then bring somebody that thinks that deserve to be there. You understand? That's the only way we can build a team. That if we keep changing players like the way we changing our dresses, then it's not going to help. You understand? Because every time when it's like that, it means that you are breaking the team. You know, they are not coming together. So yeah, we need to keep them. We need to encourage them. You understand? And then put them together for a long time, and then we can build a team.
So that's Daniel Appiah there, and that's it for sports. But before I go, the Joy Sports team will be live at Electroland head office at Ring Road for the Champions League clash between Atletico Madrid and Arsenal.
That would be a very boring match. Thank you.
Over to you.
Well, the woes of Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Free Zones Authority are not yet over because the opposition New Patriotic Party is calling for immediate dismissal. The call comes at the back of his attack on Chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Eric Nyamiche, for criticizing the deteriorating Galamsey activities in the country. Her action has received severe backlash, forcing the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, to offer a public apology. Listen to President of the Ghana Catholic Bishop Conference, Bishop Matthew Kwesi Jemfi, and General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Cyril Fayusi.
Our politicians to understand that the church has a say. The leaders of the church have a say because they are Ghanaians. They also belong to the nation, and they have to contribute to matters that affect all Ghanaians, including themselves. And no politician, whoever he or she is, should silence or threaten. And to talk about, then we will deal with you as politicians. What does he really mean by politicians? Does it mean that over there they fight, or they deal with insult, or they deal with imprisonment? What does he really mean? Like, we will deal with you like politicians. So we want us to discuss these matters, really. And the fear of Ghanaians, of politicians, should no longer exist in our country. And we are not going to tolerate that. Everybody can say what he or she believes about the affairs going on in the country.
Men and women of God, pastors, imams play key roles in the political arena. So there's really no distinction. In fact, what is happening is that we, as Bishop said, we are first and foremost citizens of the country. And as citizens, we have every right to talk about things that affect us directly. In other words, we have every right to participate in the democratic process. And no one has a right to gag any Ghanaian citizen.
Beach sand mining is emerging as a new form of galamsey along Accra's coast. One hotspot is Kolegono, where miners dig and haul sand daily, some even molding blocks right on the shore for sale. Coastal scientists warn if this activity continue unchecked, a major disaster is inevitable. Emmanuel Jivenu has more in Joy News series When the Sea Comes Home.
Saki Otokuno has worked this beach since he was a child. This morning, like many others, he's back at the shoreline, filling sacks with sand from the same sea he says has always provided for him.
Yes, no worries for you. Yeah, be our galamsey. Yes, our rare Accra galamsey for you because our pickers they don't get something for chop. If you finish school, you don't get nothing. If you go work, they don't collect you. If you go say, you know nothing. Collect sand, grow, see the sand, the sign be Gary, government delivers for us.
Across Kolegono, Men move in and out with sacks, working quickly before the ties shift. For many here, this is a daily source of income.
The same way there, it be our food. It be Ghana people, it be our food. If you go away, we don't get nothing. They can't take the sun, go sell soon. So leave the sun matter for us.
The sand that once absorbed the force of the waves is thinning out, leaving the shore more vulnerable with each passing day. Coastal scientist Professor Kwesi Ipinin-Addo says once the balance is broken, the impact shows quickly.
What some of them are doing now is take the sand, mold the block there. So if they are taking blocks away, it is not sand they are taking away, but blocks. But in any case, once you pick the sand, you are mining sand. The impact is still the same because you are depriving that system of the amount of sand that it needs.
Now, when was the last time you shared a dance with your mother? Perhaps your busy schedule has robbed you of those special bonding moments you once cherished. Why not make time to relive them? Your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM, is making this possible at a special event dubbed Mother's Day Out on the 9th of May. The event will take place at Crown Forest, and Kwame Dadzi of Joy Entertainment shares more details on how you can be a part of this unforgettable moment.
On that special day, it's all about coming together with mothers and making them feel very, very special. You know, most times we hang around maybe in Accra and all that, but this time around, it is special because we are also moving outside the capital city, you know, go and enjoy that serene atmosphere over there, and then also enjoy the recreational activities that they have. We're taking them to the Crown Forests, and that is located in Gomwa in Swayim, a beautiful place. We're going to have activities like squat biking, we have dance competitions, more food as well, live band music, and then a safari tour as well. So this Mother's Day is a very special one here for mothers. Just make sure you come with your mom because you can't just let your mom come there alone. It's 1,500 Ghana cedis, and then single, it is 800 Ghana cedis. Just make sure you come with your mom because you can't just let your mom come there alone.
That should be a very interesting one. You can secure your sport via the Momo number 0595 05930388832. There are a couple of your messages here that we cannot read because of time, but that's it for now. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Up next is Strong and Sassy, and our Kofa is here.
Yes. So last Wednesday, you know, we're talking about endometriosis. We had an advocate come in. She is in studio today again, and we're joined by Dr. Arabalain, who happens to be a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. So we want to expand the conversation some more because last Wednesday when we're talking about it, lots of women came on board, shared experiences, they had questions, and so we'll be expanding further on that conversation this evening.
That should be interesting.